Hello friends, it's Gerry with Black Salt Audio and welcome back to another video. If you're anything like me, you're obsessed with guitar tone. It's like the only thing I ever think about. I think about guitar tone while I'm at dinner. I think about guitar tone while I'm doing laundry, while I should be sleeping. I think about guitar tone while I'm editing. I'm thinking about guitar tone right now. It's really the option paralysis for me. There's choosing the amp head you want to use, and then pedals you want to use in front of the amp, and then in the effects loop, and then there's the cabinet, and then miking that up, and then choosing what mics to use. I mainly work with modelers, which sometimes I think can be worse than working with actual gear because, yeah, who doesn't like the convenience of using amp sins and having so many options, but that's just it. You have so many options, sometimes too many options. I have fallen down that rabbit hole so many times. I'll literally stay up for hours and hours and hours shooting out different amps and overdrives and IRs. Oh my God. Nothing will make you go absolutely insane like shooting out different IR cabinets. After a while, it all sounds like mush. And then when it's all said and done, none of it really matters that much. What if I told you that your guitar tone doesn't matter? Kind of. By the way, the channel has grown a lot recently and we're super thankful, so we want to give back to you. Exclusive to our YouTube subscribers, there's a link in the description where you can get 25% off of BSA Clipper. All you have to do is input your name and your email address and you'll be all set. Pretty easy, right? Now you're probably thinking to yourself, what the hell is this guy talking about? Of course guitar tone matters. By no means am I saying you can get away with using a bad guitar tone or not putting the time to craft a usable one. Think about all the different ways to create unique and awesome tones, even outside of the scope of rock and metal, and most of the time it can sound awesome. Jordan actually has a really good take on why your guitar tone doesn't matter as much as you think. I suggest you check it out. I think it's on this side. I can put it on this side. I can do whatever I want. But hardly is that ever going to be the element to make or break your mix. But why am I obsessing over it like it is going to make all the difference? Like it's going to be the deciding factor between a good mix and a bad one. I'll spend hours and hours and hours on crafting a guitar tone and then spend like 15 minutes on the bass tone. It literally makes zero sense. I don't know, maybe it comes from being a guitar player myself and having such a love for the instrument and being way into gear that, yeah, of course we want it to sound as cool as humanly possible. But foundation is going to be a million times more important than any guitar tone you throw at a mix. So let's go ahead and jump into Pro Tools land and see exactly what I'm talking about. All right, so in this session, I have 3 different pairs of rhythm guitar tones, each panned hard left and right, and they're set up mostly the same. I'm using Helix Native from line 6 for this example, and the chain goes overdrive, amp, cabinet, and that's it. The only difference between the 3 being the choice of amp head. The overdrive and cabinet IR are going to stay the same. After that, I'm keeping the chain very simple. I have an EQ on each bus that's doing a little filtering at about 80 Hertz and 9K, and a little bit of notch to clean up some of those whistly frequencies. Followed by some BSA escalator to add a little bit of weight and thickness, and that's it. For this first tone, I'm using the PV Panama model based on a PV5150. Classic, can't really go wrong with that. Oh, and here are the settings in the overdrive. Again, very typical, I'm using it as a clean boost. Next, I'm using the Archetype lead model based on a PRS Archon, one of my personal favorite models out of the Helix catalog. And lastly, I'm actually using an original Line 6 model called Badonk, another really great one. Let's quickly listen to each of them in the context of a mix and then in isolation. All right, so I would say that each of those are pretty solid and usable tones, but none of them are really making or breaking the mix. Each one of these is perfectly usable, and I'd love to know which one you thought sounded the best in the comments. Let's go back to listening to them in isolation, but this time with a bass guitar. See how our bass tone just really completes the picture in adding in that low end growl. I think so often we like to think that a huge guitar tone is what's really adding power and energy to the mix. But the truth is, a good guitar tone really isn't anything without the bass. Let's break down and see what's going on with our bass processing. Now, there are so many different ways to crafting a bass tone, and in this instance, I was going more for something that more or less becomes an extension of our rhythm guitars versus something like a slap tone that needs to stand out from everything else. Now, we do have a video about creating a metal bass tone from scratch if you want to check that out. I go into a lot more detail there, but the chain is mostly the same. I duplicated this bass DI and split it up into two parts, bass low and bass clank, and each track has slightly different processing done to them. The bass low track is handling all of the low frequencies. The bulk of the tone is this SansAmp PSA1 plugin that actually comes free with Pro Tools, followed by some pretty heavy filtering so that only the low frequencies are coming through. And then the most important part of the chain, of course, is low control. This is compressing all of the frequencies below 80 Hz, and the enhanced control really is the magic sauce that's giving our mix that solid foundation. For the bass clink track, very similar processing here too, except we're filtering so that only the high frequencies are poking through, and I'm boosting a lot of mid-range to get kind of that clank sound. And I'm using BSA escalator to really dirty things up. And then finally, this is a cool little trick. I'm sending it to this stereo bass chorus bus. This is a cool way of making your bass a little more 3D sounding so that it gels with the guitars a little more. Then all of this gets fed into this bass bus, and that's pretty much it. And again, we go into full detail about every part of the chain in the video that I mentioned. Okay, so let's go ahead and listen to it in the mix now and see what happens when we bypass low control. Not only is low control really adding that sought after low end thump to our mix, listen to how much it's adding to our guitars. The enhance feature really makes it effortless to dial in a frequency where it's going to sit right behind the rhythm guitars so that it all kind of converges into this big monstrous instrument. Thank you so much for taking the time to check out this video. What do you think about the philosophy of bass being more important than guitar? Do you agree or disagree? I would love to hear your thoughts. Friends, don't forget that you can get 25% off BSA Clipper by using the link in the description. You really can't go wrong. Not only do you score yourself a great deal, but you'll also get emails about exclusive discount codes and flash sales. We have new videos here every week, so you want to consider subscribing and leaving a like while you're at it. We mainly focus on the importance of bass in this video, but getting a really good guitar tone is important too, so why not check out this video on mixing heavy metal guitars. And if there are other mixing tutorials that you'd like us to check out in the future, be sure to comment down below and let us know what you'd like to see next. Until then, I've been Gerry, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. See ya!